Hello there, my name is Lucky Boparai and welcome to my online interactive academy. I have designed this learning school and this program to teach people like you about any of your chosen topics of interest, that too free of charge and also within the comforts of your own home. From the information you had submitted online about yourself, I have formulated today's interactive video to inform you of your desired topic, infectious diseases. So welcome, Mary, to your very own interactive session with me. First of all, I would like to start off by giving you a brief introduction of myself. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Lucky, and I will be giving you a crash course on infectious diseases in less than 10 minutes. As a part of your online medical questionnaire, you had filled out the following information about your current health conditions. You wrote, I have a history of diabetes mellitus, as well as an opiate dependency for chronic back pain. And in your personal information, you mentioned, I am a 55-year-old administrative assistant in a doctor's office, working a full-time position. I also care for my 8-month-old grandson, who lives with me because my daughter is in prison. Mary, I think you have chosen a great topic to expand your knowledge on. Although this does not happen to everyone, but as mentioned by verywellhealth.com, people with diabetes are more susceptible to developing infections. This is because the high blood sugar levels can weaken the person's immune system defenses. In addition, some diabetes-related health issues, such as nerve damage and reduced blood flow to the arms and legs, can increase the body's vulnerability to infection. While the high sugar levels in your blood could mean that bacteria is able to grow and help infections develop more quickly, it is equally as important for you to take this course for your grandson who has neutropenia. In simple terms, neutropenia is when the body has a very low number of a type of white blood cells, which are used to help fight infections and any other foreign organisms that try to invade our bodies. So Mary, let's start off with some fun facts. Did you know infectious diseases were first discovered in the 11th century? Between 1347 and 1352, the Black Death bubonic plague led to the death of 25 million people in Europe. In 1918, the influenza virus, also known as the Spanish flu or La Grippe, killed 25 to 50 million people. In 2007, almost 2 billion people, which is about 33% of the world's population, was infected with TB. The first thing I'll cover is bacterial diseases. Bacterial diseases are transmitted from one place to the next by the fecal-oral route. The two we will talk about today are Salmonella and Shigella. There are 200 strains of Salmonella. Infection with the non-typhoidal Salmonella is the most common. A person can become infected with Salmonella by eating contaminated feces particles from other humans or animals, such as cows, pigs, and turtles. Mary, that is something to be mindful of if you have pets. Another way a person can become exposed to Salmonella is by eating contaminated foods, such as beef, poultry, milk, eggs, and vegetables. Non-typhoidal Salmonella causes gastroenteritis, otherwise known as stomach flu. Some of the symptoms of this are non-bloody diarrhea, high fever, abdominal cramps, nausea, and vomiting, which can be seen 6 to 72 hours after being infected. This can be managed with adequate hydration and rest. Some of the tips to prevent this infection is good hand hygiene before and after preparing meals, after a bowel movement, and after contact with pets. Also avoid raw, uncooked poultry and meat. One of the conditions caused by the Shigella bacterium is dysentery, which is an infectious diarrhea. The symptoms of this are fever, abdominal cramps, and diarrhea mixed with blood and mucus. Shigella strain A causes the worst form of dysentery. A person infected with Shigella may not show any signs and symptoms but can still transmit the infection to others. Infection can also spread by consuming contaminated food and water. Flies can transmit the infection as well by breeding in contaminated feces and landing on food directly. The World Health Organization reported that 69% of the cases between 1966 and 1997 were children younger than 5. Children with Shigella are not only at risk of infection but also death. Children usually get infected by the fecal-oral route. This is particularly good information for you, Mary, while you care for your grandson. While mild cases of Shigella can be resolved with oral fluids and rest, more aggressive forms have to be managed with antibiotics. Ways to prevent this infection is good hand hygiene and avoid swallowing water when swimming in local swimming pools, lakes, or seas. Now that we've covered bacterial diseases, let's move on to part 2 and learn about viral diseases next. The 2 viral infections I will cover today are Epstein-Barr virus and herpes zoster, which is also known as shingles. Epstein-Barr virus is the most common herpes virus that infects humans. Almost 95% of adults in the US have been infected with the virus. Primary infection typically occurs in childhood. Transmission of this virus requires contact with saliva, such as open-mouth kissing. 4 to 6 weeks after being infected with the virus, a person will usually have a low-grade fever, sore throat, and malaise. After a person has been infected with this virus, lifelong dormant infection persists, meaning they will carry the virus in their body without showing any signs or symptoms. While there is no specific treatment for this type of infection, people can usually recover with supportive care such as rest and over-the-counter medications like Tylenol. Herpes zoster or shingles is caused by the varicella zoster virus, the same virus which also causes chickenpox. Primary infection with VZV leads to chickenpox, and once chickenpox has been resolved, the varicella zoster virus goes into a dormant phase just like the Epstein-Barr virus. This means a person will still carry the varicella zoster virus without showing any signs or symptoms. Reactivation of this virus is what results in shingles, which is a painful rash. The virus is mainly transmitted by touching or breathing in the virus particles. A person with shingles can transmit the varicella zoster virus, causing chickenpox in a person who has never been vaccinated against chickenpox or previously infected with chickenpox. This is really good information for you, Mary, as shingles occurs more commonly in people in their 50s or beyond, or in people who have a compromised immune system, either because of a chronic disease or because of medications. The diagnosis of shingles is typically based on the clinical presentation and appearance of the rash. The treatment of shingles should be started as early as possible to reduce any complications. Mary, a good way to protect your grandson from this infection is by vaccinating him for both chickenpox and shingles. So Mary, let's conclude this session with a final fun fact. A study in 2010 found that sharing a smartphone is just as likely to spread disease as sneezing in someone's face. While there are many more infectious organisms out there that affect millions of people, I hope today's course was sufficient to help you get your feet wet in the world of infectious diseases. Many hospitals around the world use personal protective equipment such as gowns, gloves, and masks to protect themselves from infection. So if the need ever arises, you could also use these to protect yourself and especially your grandson. Because as stated by Jim Rohn, neglect starts out as an infection, then becomes a disease. So today's takeaway point for you, Mary, is that prevention is better than cure.